Holy One, I offer these words and this time for the healing of our families, our communities, our countries, and our land. Amen. So we begin with a story. It's an old story. You probably know this story of a prophet on the run. He's a famous prophet. They'll tell legends about him. They'll repeat his name, Elijah, for generations. But at this point in this story, he doesn't know that. All he knows is that they're trying to kill him. And that actually isn't new for Elijah. That's happened before. But what's different this time in this story is that Elijah is done. Elijah has had enough. He is done with being a prophet. And so earlier in the text, he dismisses his servant. He goes out into the wilderness, and he literally lays down to die. So I wonder this morning, have you ever had enough of something? Have you ever been at the end of your rope? Maybe with, I don't know, trying to find a parking place near the church on a Tuesday night. We could start with small ropes, I guess. Or maybe something more serious. Maybe you've had enough of Facebook or the family members on Facebook. Maybe you've had enough of relationships. Maybe you've had enough of our country or our leaders. Maybe you've had enough of your job. Maybe you've had enough of your life. I don't know if any of you have been there, but I can say that has been true of me. I have been with Elijah. What are you doing here, Elijah? Well, the here is Mount Horeb, which we know by another name, it's Sinai, right? And in the Hebrew, we translate it as he goes to a cave, but it could be the cave. I think Elijah goes literally back to the cave where Moses was when God passed by and the 10 Commandments were given. I think this moment is kind of like The Princess Bride, the movie, when Inigo is in the thieves' forest and he refuses to move. You know, Vincini hires it's okay, I'll explain it. Vincini hires Inigo Montoya and Fezzik the Giant for a job, right? They got to kidnap the princess. And then the man in black defeats them. And so they're all defeated. And so Inigo Montoya goes back to the thieves' forest and he says, when a job went wrong, you went back to the beginning. This is where we got the job. So this is the beginning. This is Elijah. Elijah's going all the way back to the beginning, not just for him, but for his people. Right? This is where God made the covenant. And Elijah is done. So he goes back to like turning the keys, you know? That's it. The people have broken the covenant, he says. Your prophets, not my prophets, God, your prophets are dead. They have killed everyone else. I am the only one left. You hear that loneliness? You ever felt that? I'm the only one left. And now they're after me. Take the keys. I'm out. St. John of the Cross might call this the dark night of the soul, right? The time when God seems absent and when we are just finished with believing. We're at the end of the spiritual rope. We are ready to walk away, to abdicate. Maybe you are there this morning. I don't know. Maybe you remember when you were and what brought you back. I want to share a poem that I've tweaked a little bit, but this comes from a book, An Improbable Gift of Blessing by Maren Tabassi, and she imagines herself in the cave. In my cave, I hear a great wind, so strong it breaks mountains. In my cave, I smell a fire. In my cave, I feel an earthquake. But after that, there is a place and a time of sheer silence. And I come to the entrance with my face shielded for fear of losing everything of me. But I discover that I am not the wind. I am not the fire. I am not the earthquake. I am the deep, sweet, God-soaked stillness. I am my body more than bones, beautiful, and I am not alone. I am not alone. I don't know what brought you to this church this morning, if it was habit or curiosity or hope, but you are here, and because you are here in this pew at First Congregational, then I get to say these words to you. You are beautiful. You are not alone. You are the deep, sweet, God-soaked stillness. Or as Kabir, a mystic poet from India, 15th century, says, your God is within you like fragrance in the flowers. Fragrance in the flowers. God shows up for Elijah when Elijah is empty and depleted and in despair, and God doesn't come in the usual way, in the fire or the wind or the earthquake, the way that God showed up for Moses. God comes in something new, what the King James calls the still small voice, the sheer silence. When it came for me in a moment when I thought that I was done with my life, there was no voice I heard. There was simply a breath. All of a sudden, I could breathe. An ease, something opening. What are you doing here, Elijah? As Reverend Janet said last Sunday, the Catholic Church sainted Oscar Romero, and for him, the church was not a cave where you would hide out, but it was a place of calling, a place of deep work. Church was the people themselves. He said, I have often been threatened with death, but I must tell you as a Christian, I do not believe in death without resurrection. I do not believe in death without resurrection. If I am killed, I shall arise in the people. A bishop will die, but God's church, which is the people, will never perish. And this is true for Elijah. What happens is that after the still small voice moment, God gives Elijah another assignment, and Elijah takes it. He does, though, go and find another prophet, Elisha, and they have many more adventures. And then finally, he gets to hang up the keys and go. We're not alone, not only because of the fragrance that is God within us, but because of each other, right? Both the people here and the ones we haven't met who will come after us. I can imagine them here, 50 years, the new people that will be here, taking up our story after we are gone. So it's as Romero says on the cover of your bulletin, each of us must be God's microphone, a messenger, a prophet. And when the still small voice calls to us, it's to remind us of our purpose. What are you doing here? So I ask you, what are you doing here in this church and on this planet that we might hear from one another? So if you call it out, I'll re-amplify you. What are you doing here this morning, church? I work here, but for you, what are you doing here? Singing. Sonny's singing. What are you doing here? Needing hope? What? Coming home. Coming home. Spiritual nourishment. Praying for peace. Community. Praising God, more blessings to flow. Yeah. What? Spiritual bread. Bread for the journey. Welcoming strangers. We were all once a stranger, right? None of us were known until we became friends. Oh. Spiritual healing. Yeah. Finding our breath. Feeling blessed. Yeah. Praying. Bringing our children. Yeah. Being with your ancestors. They're here. Feel them.
Signing up for another round.
Bill, God bless Bill. Bill is signing up for another round. How many of you are signing up for another round? Are you in? Are we in for another round? Yes, 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 yes. Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes says, whatever good we are seeking is also seeking us. Whatever good we are seeking is also seeking us. Any lost or missing parts to the holy, we will dream again. We will ever dream the holy anew. Signing up for another round, another dream, another glimpse of part of the dream that we haven't yet seen. Perhaps we are collectively in a dark night of the soul as a country, or even in this change, this time of transition as a community, and maybe at times we're ready to just take a break and walk away. In that moment, we are invited to hold on through all the noise around us, through the fire, the wind, the earthquake, and listen. Listen for the sheer silence, for the voice inside calling us back to our purpose. What are we doing here in a time like this? In a time like this, how could we be anywhere else? Amen.